Hello everyone, welcome back, and today we're going to do another educational video. This time we're going to do it on a creature known as Siphonophores. Now, Siphonophores are not something that I think most people have heard of, or if they've heard of it, they don't know much about them. Because really, I was having a little bit of trouble finding a lot of information on these, because there's only certain ones of them that we've actually studied, but we'll go over them. So anyways, Siphonophores. The classification for Siphonophores are, they are in the domain Eukaryota, the kingdom Animalia, the phylum Cnidaria, the class Hydrozoa, the subclass of Hydroenolae, and then the order of Siphonorea. But anyways, then there are pictures here of different ones right behind me here. And these have, as you can see, very, very different body plans and how they like float, move around, everything like that. They're very diverse. So the anatomy for these is going to be, I'm just going to go generalized because there are lots of different body plans and anatomies for these different things. Some of them don't even have the same like anatomy, I guess you could say, different organs and stuff like that. But mainly they usually do have a stem that is a vertical branch in the center of the colony to which the zooids attach. Now, a majority of the colonies are bilaterally arranged with dorsal and ventral sides to the stem. Then the zooids typically have special functions, thus they assume specific spatial patterns along the stem. So some might just be made for digesting food, some might be for movement, and others are for reproduction. The velum changes with the swimming behavior of the Siphonophores, and it will be curved down in times of jetting, and then it will refill, and the velum is moved back into the necrophore, which we'll go over what the necrophore is in just a little bit. But it ends up becoming smaller and more circular during times of forward propulsion compared to a large velum, which is seen during refill periods. So this is just for movement and stuff like that. We'll go over movement a little bit more later. So there is different morphology for all these creatures here, but there's three main types. So Siphonophores typically exhibit one of these three standard body plans, so matching these suborders. So there's Cystonectae, Sisonectae, and Callicofores. I hope I said those somewhat similar, and I have them lettered here. So Cystonectae is there with A, looking like a man of war, and then Sisonectae is the B one over there, which kind of looks like an octopus squid-like thing. And then Callicofores is at the very end, C, and it has kind of like a cone dome to it, kind of like cone heads. So most of them are going to follow these body plans. There are the ones that are very, very long, like a snake or something like that, or a worm. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. So Cystonectae or Cysconex, they are, like I said, kind of like the man of war, and they have a long stem where the zooids are attached, and each group of zooids has a Gastro Zoid, where that's where they eat and stuff like that, or what digests food. And the Gastro Zoid has a tentacle used for capturing and digesting food, and then they have a Pneumatophore, which is a gas-filled float on top of the body plan, I guess, at the very top of the stem. And then on their anterior end, and then they drift at the surface of the water or stay afloat in the deep sea. They have also Gonopores, which are specialized for reproduction. And then I have the picture there. So, since we are talking about the man of war, I guess it's better to look more at it. So the Portuguese Man of War is a type of Siphonophore, and it's also known as a Man of War or Blue Bottle, and I do have a picture of them up above me, which has some of the organs labeled and stuff like that, kind of like the tentacle palpon, the Gonopores, palpon, Necrofores, yeah, all those different things. But they are from the suborder of Siphonophores, like I said before, and like other Siphonophores, it is a colonial organism made of many zooids. And in a medusa, or free-floating form, that's what the Portuguese Man of War is in. So medusa, kind of like I said before, is a free-floating form, so that's what you imagine jellyfishes and stuff like that being in. And it has numerous microscopic venomous nematocytes, which deliver a painful sting, powerful enough to kill fish, and even in some cases, humans. Most Siphonophores are fragile and difficult to collect, except for the Man of War, which is the most accessible and robust of Siphonophores, so it's easier for scientists to collect them, look at them, and stuff like that. And individuals are dioecious, meaning each colony is either male or female. And then we have the life cycle of a Man of War. So these are colonial organisms, so there's tons of them living together in a thing. So we have the egg and a sperm connecting, and then they grow. They grow different organs from that one egg until they finally get to the point where they are a full Man of War. So they grow from one single thing. Even though they're a colonial organism, they are all kind of they're duplicates. I'll just say they're duplicates. They're clones. So then we have Cycinics, or Cyconnectae, and they have a pneumatophore and a nectosome, which harbor the necrofores used for jet propulsion, and the necrofores pump water backward in order to move forward. So the difference between them is just that they have a pneumatophore at the top and a necrophore. That's basically the only difference between them. Then we have Calicophore. They differ from Cyconics and Cycinics in that they have two necrophores and they have no pneumatophore. Instead, they often possess oil glands that likely help them with buoyancy. So like we said before, pneumatophores are just the air pocket at the very top of them that keeps them floating. These Calicophores do not have them. They instead have the oil-filled glands, which likely help with buoyancy, like I said. So I've been talking about colonial organisms, or colonies, or whatnot, and I guess we should probably go over what exactly they are so you know exactly. So colonial organisms are organisms that live in a colony. So think of like bacterial colony and stuff like that, or a cluster of identical cells clones. So I have a petri dish here that has bacteria growing on them, and each one of those dots is a colony of bacteria, and they're all clones of each other. A colony is composed of two or more of the same species individuals living in close association with, or possibly connected to, another one. So a colonial colony, like Siphonophores are, is a group of genetically identical individuals, such as plants, fungi, or bacteria that are grown in a given location and from a single ancestor. And colonial colonies are common in many plants, fungi, bacteria species, like I said before. Plants especially, because wide-ranging roots that have intervals that shoot up shoots, and rhizomes and bulbs. So whenever you grow a plant, like let's say a strawberry or something like that, strawberries will put off runners, they call, that will grow up. So they'll shoot up like a stem, almost like, and at the end of the stem they'll grow a new plant. And then that plant will touch the soil, it will grow, and it'll grow into a new organism that is genetically identical to its parent. So that's what kind of like rhizomes and bulbs for flowers, if you plant bulbs and stuff like that. But yeah, so that is what colonial colony is. So, reproduction. This varies very much by what species you are looking at. From day to day, and several modes remain unknown. So, some will reproduce asexually through a budding process, and I do have a picture right here, right next to me, that shows a hydra that is budding. So basically, it'll grow a second individual on its side, and then that individual will break off and grow into another hydra. So some Siphonophores will do that. A piece of them will break off and grow into a new individual. And then others will go sexually, and an egg and sperm will touch, and then it will grow into a new individual. Which, a single bud is called a probud, which initiates the growth of a colony by undergoing fission. So Siphonophores are unique that the probud initiates the production of all the different diverse zooids with very specific functions. So this one probud has all the information to grow the feeding cells, the reproduction cells, the movement cells, all the different cells of this can be grown from that one bud. And this process repeats until a colony of zooids forms around a central stalk. So let's keep going through undergoing fission, reproducing, and stuff like that, growing into a larger individual. Each zooid is produced to be genetically identical, but there can be mutations that alter their function and increase diversity of the zooids within the colony. Several species reproduce using polyps. Polyps can hold eggs and sperm and can be released to the water from the back end of the siphonophore, and these polyps may then be fertilized outside the organism, which then, like we said, would grow into another colony organism. So zooids, okay? They are multicellular units that develop from a single fertilized egg or polyp or bud or anything like that, and they combine to create a functional colony able to reproduce, digest, float, maintain body position, and use jet propulsion to move. So just from that one single fertilized egg, they can make a whole entire colony with all these different diverse functions. Siphonophores can have zooids that are either polyps or medusas. So I have a picture here of a polyp and medusa. So a polyp is one that is attached to the ground, whereas a medusa is free floating. Zooids are unique and can develop to have different functions, and most colonies are long, thin, transparent floaters living in the deep ocean. And there are different types of zooids here. So there's the Necrofores, brackets, Gastro Zoids, Palpons, Gonopores, Pneumatophores, and we'll go over most of these here. So, Necrofores. Necrofores are located in the nectosome, where they can coordinate the swimming of a colony. So I have a picture to my side over there where you can see the nectosome on a siphonophore. And that is where the Necrofores are located. And like we said, they are used to coordinate swimming. They are medusae that assist in the propulsion and movement of some siphonophores in the water. So not all siphonophores might have these type. And also have been observed in working in conjunction with the reproductive structures in order to provide propulsion during a colony detachment. So whenever they break apart to make a new bud or something like that. Okay, brackets. I'll be honest with you, I could not find very much on brackets, okay? I do have their function, which is in protection and maintaining of neutral buoyancy, but they are not present in all species of siphonophores. And I have the picture over there, and you can see the brackets are those little black, kind of banana-shaped things that are on the side of the siphonophore. They're there. They're there for protection and maintaining neutral buoyancy, like I said. Not much to them. Then we have the Gastro Zoids, which are for eating and feeding. So they are polyps that evolve a function to assist in the feeding of siphonophores. They have a characteristic tentacle attached to the base of the zooid, and this function is assisting an organism to catch prey. So species with large Gastro Zoids are capable of consuming a broad range of prey sizes, so large, small, medium, whatever. But many Siphonophores species exhibit Nematocytes, which will sting their stinging capsules on the branch of these tentacles called tentilia. So on their tentacles, they have these Nematocytes, which sting the prey and either paralyze them or sometimes even kill them, so then it's easier to eat. The palpons are modified gastrozoids that function in digesting by regulating the circulation of gastrovascular fluids. So that's kind of what you would think of digestive enzymes and whatnot. So yeah. Then we have Gonopores, which are zooids that are involved in the reproductive process of the Siphonophores. I have a picture here of Gonozoids, which I would assume are exactly the same thing as Gonopores. And they're either a male or female, and the types of Gonopores in a colony can vary among species. So some species are characterized by monoecious, which they contain male and female Gonopores in a single colony, so they can fertilize themselves. Whereas some are dioecious, which are male and female Gonopores live separately in different colonies of zooids. So then they actually have to kind of find each other so they can reproduce. Then we have the Pneumatophores, okay? Pneumatophores are the floating air-filled pocket that keeps our Siphonophores floating. So I have a picture of the Man of War here, and it's just the very top of the thing that's floating above the water. The presence of the Pneumatophore characterized the subgroup Sisconectae and Psyconectae, and they are gas-filled floats that are located at the back end, anterior end of the colonies in these species, and it helps the colonies maintain their orientation in water. It also assists in the flotation of the species. So pretty easy to understand. It's like a balloon. Then we have bioluminescence, which is a very, I guess, important or very interesting part of the Siphonophores, for me at least. Nearly all Siphonophores have bioluminescent capabilities because they live so deep underneath the ocean. Whenever you light up, it can either try to scare away prey or attract prey so you can eat it. So it will emit light to attract or attack prey. Many sea animals produce blue and green bioluminescence, but there's a type of Siphonophore in the genus Aranea that was only the second life form found to produce a red light. And the bioluminescent organ is called the tentiliae, and it twitches in a way that mimics the motion of a small crustacean or copepod, which will make the prey move closer to the Siphonophore, allowing it to trap and digest it. And then I have pictures here of one that's putting off red light and one that's putting off kind of a bluish yellow light. And then feeding. Siphonophores are predators. They are carnivores. And the diet consists of a variety of copepods and other small crustaceans like crabs and stuff like that. And also small fish, basically whatever they can get a hold of in the tentacles. And the diets of strong swimming Siphonophores that can kind of swim after prey consist of smaller prey. And the diets of weak swimming ones that kind of just sit there usually consist of larger prey where they just wait for prey to kind of get inside their tentacles. And a majority of Siphonophores species function in a sit and wait tactic for food. Kind of like I said, the weak swimming ones will just kind of just sit there. And then I have a picture there of a Man of War with a fish that is stuck in its tentacles, which it has stung and it's probably dead already. Then we have nematocytes here, which nematocytes are stinging cells located on the tentacles, kind of like we were talking about feeding and stuff like that in the Man of Wars. So I have a picture up above of a nematocyte, which It has a capsule with a barb in it that is attached to a thread. And the nematocyte, whenever something pushes up against it, it'll shoot the barb out into the creature, sticking to it, which will sting the creature and also keep it attached to the tentacle. And there are 4 types of nematocytes in Siphonophores, Tintiliae, and I'm going to completely butcher these, but we are going to try. So we have Heteronemes, which is the largest nematocytes, and are spines on a shaft, and it's close to the tubules attached to the center of the Siphonophore. So they're on a spine on the shaft of the Siphonophore. That's kind of what you have to know about that. Then we have Haplonemes, which is an open-tip tubules with spines, but they have no distinct shaft. And the most common nematocyte among Siphonophores is the Haplonemes. Then we have the Desmononemes, which do not have spines, but instead have an adhesive property on the tubules that will hold onto the prey. So instead of a barb, they're kind of sticky. Then we have the Rhopalponemes, which are nematocytes with a wide tubules for prey. So kind of hard to imagine, I'll be honest, but as long as you understand that they have nematocytes that somehow stick to the prey and capture the prey and sometimes sting the prey, that's basically kind of all you need to know about them. And then their distribution and habitat. So there's over 175 species of Siphonophores in the ocean, and most Siphonophores live in the deep sea and can be found in all of the oceans of the world. They can differ very greatly in terms of size and shape, which largely reflect the environment that they inhabit. So smaller and warm water Siphonophores typically live in the epipelagic, like upper oceans zone, and they'll use their tentacles to capture zooplankton and copepods. Whereas the larger Siphonophores live in the deeper waters, and they're usually longer and more fragile and must avoid strong currents to, like, they could break them up or kill them. And they mostly feed on larger prey. And most often in the 5 open oceans, but some live in the bottom of the ocean. And then there are giant Siphonophores that are very, very, very long. But we'll go over those in a sec. So, movement. Some Siphonophores will use a method similar to jet propulsion. So they will take in water and shoot it out to move themselves. Some will use Pneumatophores to float. So kind of like the Man of War, they'll just go on top of the water. They'll use the waves to float them around. Some use colonial movement, which is the colonial movement is determined by individual Necrofores of all developmental stages. So the the smaller individuals are concentrated toward the top of the Siphonophore, and their function is turning and adjusting the orientation of a colony. Then the larger ones are located at the base of the colony, and they are thrust propulsion to move it forward. So smaller ones are to turn, where larger ones are to move forward. And then I have a picture of one here, which I love this picture of one because it looks like it has fire coming out of its back, but it's just the Siphonophores. It's just all the Siphonophore. It's beautiful. Then we have the size. So one of the biggest discoveries was a Siphonophore that measured an estimated 150 feet, which is 46 meters, and it was found 630 meters down in the Western Australian underwater canyons. And to put that into perspective, this giant Siphonophore is longer than the maximum length of a confirmed blue whale. The blue whales have a maximum confirmed length of 29.9 meters, which is 98 feet. So there is giant Siphonophores that are longer than blue whales, the biggest ocean animal that we know of. And then we also have a picture of a human right next to a blue whale and the giant Siphonophore. So that is really all I had time to look up about Siphonophores. There really is not that much on Siphonophores out there. There is, but there isn't. Because they're so hard to look at and study because they're so fragile, especially the ones that are in the deep ocean, the giant Siphonophores and whatnot. Really, the easiest ones that there is a lot of stuff on is the Portuguese Man of War, which I had some information in and here. They are the easiest for us to look at and get a better idea of what Siphonophores are. Yeah, I wish I had more on these, but there's something that was just interesting that I wanted to learn more about, so I ended up doing this. And these are basically kind of like, you know how the Man of War people say that they are basically a jellyfish? Well, Siphonophores are kind of like jellyfishes, just they're long jellyfishes. To like, they're not, but they're kind of like it. They're very cool. I wish I could see one. I know I could probably find a Portuguese Man of War. But the giant Siphonophores I'll probably never see in person in my lifetime, unless you go down in like a submarine or something like that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, there's not really much stuff on Siphonophores, so this is a shorter one, even though I did have a lot of slides. I wish there was more of it, but this is about all I can do at this point. But it did take a lot of time to find all this information, so I hope you guys appreciate how long it took for me to do this. I was doing this up to last minute. And I hope I already have another slideshow started about another creature. I don't know for sure if that's one I'm going to give next month or not. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed either way this other educational video. I will have another one for you guys next month. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed as much as I did learning about these things. And I will see you guys next month. So, bye!